barrister who has been here. He's been with us started about 14 years ago. And like bringing him to the studio, I told him, sir, you have so much. You are even hardly, I didn't even start where I'm supposed to have started. You are hardly heard in public. And you have so much. I've told you about people that call me to tell me you are able to bring Barrister James Essien on radio. I wouldn't miss it for anything. He's the man, he's an intellectual powerhouse. Here you are. You left office almost 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And you've not desired to be in office, whereas people are recycling themselves like whatever. Now, before we go into the big talk, please, I won't fail to say this. I won't fail to ask this. Your tenure as the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, what was the legal issue that involved the state that you will say this was the height of your tenure in office?
Well, I was Attorney General in 1992 with Oba Okpani 7.
Really?
Yeah. And the most topical issue we had that was very, very disturbing was the conflict between Eket and Ibom
My God.
over their boundaries and the existence of Ibom as an independent local government. That was quite complex. It was quite challenging. And
The problem is still there.
yeah, but because it's an intractable problem. At this stage, I had to go to the Federal Attorney General to institute a commission of inquiry, at least to reduce the number of deaths that occurred on account of that conflict. It was a very serious conflict, you know. All sorts of decisions were produced, some from the West African Court of Appeal, decisions of 1945, of 1925, all sorts of things. Now, there was this claim that, look, these guys are settlers who came as fishermen, we gave them land, and now, you know. But the Constitution, by whatever means, recognized that place as a local government.
And by virtue of that,
And you cannot push them into the sea. So it was quite a problem. You know, even after the Commission of Inquiry, we still had issues to resolve in the state.
as we speak, I'm sure you are aware that the governor stepped in and issues. We have press statements, very strong statements, and even killings still going on there.
You can't believe the number that have died on account of that conflict.
We will look at it in a podcast, but what will you point as the way out of this? Because I have a lot to say about that, because I have advocated something on my own where I was in a group, but it's not just enough that you can have ideas. You don't have a platform where you can be heard and actions taken. Now we are able to create this platform where we are heard, and whoever denies not hearing us is doing so for whatever his intention. So just what will be your suggestion in 30 seconds on the way forward out of this problem?
Yeah, even at that time, what I considered as a solution to that problem, is massive economic development.
Awesome.
That's what I expected, because ExxonMobil is seated as one of the largest companies on the New York Stock Exchange. But to imagine that this volume of business was being done out of that locality, and the place is looking buried, totally abandoned. And as a matter of fact, I did the environmental impact study on the Stubbs Creek.
Okay.
It's a total devastation. And the Stubbs Creek was actually designed to be a buffer against the Atlantic Ocean. But because of this issue of flaring, the animal life is gone because they could not survive. There was no longer night.
Oh, God.
Even the trees couldn't survive.
Why?
Everything is going off. The place is dead.
No, let's do this. Those of you who are listening to us or watching us anywhere in the world, this is Open Forum with Citizen MKO, and here we go to the root of issues. We do not do propaganda. We don't do press singing. And we don't care what some persons feel that when you talk like this, you are attacking government because if the government is a masquerade, government is a gangster, which it was not revealed. The kind of issues we are talking about here, with the personality that is here, a man who somebody described as a powerhouse of knowledge. This is something we are going to have a special podcast on, but it's going to affect the way I arrange the program. So let me bring in the issue of ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil has divested and it's been taken over by Seplat Energy. I want to ask you, what is going to be the impact of that taking over? Bearing in mind that the Akwa Ibom state government went to court in 2021 or 2022 when that information came up that they are going to sell off and then whatever. Now it has been done. I've not heard any press statement from government. I'm trying to keep in touch. I'm keeping in touch with the Attorney General of the state to find out what is the state of that case. So what would be, as a subject matter expert that you are in several fields, what would be the impact of Seplat taking over ExxonMobil, considering what's on ground, and even the fact that some of the disengaged janitorial and catering staff, I hosted them here, have not been paid since 2012, 2017. We've had our women protest naked just a few months, I think last month, in naked. The video is there. So please, very briefly, what is your thinking? Well, the benefit of Akwa Ibom State from this?
The takeover basically is just a change of guards. The thinking is the same. You see, if it was
that thinking pro Akwa Ibom? Was it
no, if it was pro Akwa Ibom, you will not be where you are. You know, you must understand that the attitude of the businessmen, you know, it's like just behaving like a shark. You grab everything, create a devastation, and you move on. They're not interested. You know, we've not been able by legislation from the state to actually hold them responsible for the environmental degradation that has occurred. When we did that study, hydrocarbon was being found even in the gills of the fish.
My God.
To tell you how bad it is in that territory. You know, Akwa Ibom has not been able to harness the vast resources in that ocean. Absolutely nothing. In terms of fish, in terms of prawns, in terms of nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Now, let's do this. Our conversation is very rich, but we will make the best that we can. Now, does Akwa Ibom, as a government or as a people, have we been able to explore and exploit our economic potential in the green economy and, or is it blue economy? Blue economy and mineral sector? Have we, or like the question which is on our front burner, what is wrong with the industrial sector? What do we do going forward? Because what you're saying is the reality, but if some of us say this kind of thing, nobody takes it serious. Now that you have said it, I'm sure some persons will not be able to feign ignorance as if it does not. These things does not exist. So how do we come out of this and see how we can harness the oil? You will talk about gas. Do we have enough gas, or do we have more gas than oil? Are we exploiting it? Are we making the best out of it? That is a question I want you to answer.
No, two difficulties in Akwa Ibom for me. The very first is that we were a people plundered.
By who?
You know, by the entire nation. It was so bad that in 1971, the totality of what we had as assets in terms of oil and gas in Akwa Ibom State was declared to be offshore. That decree created a situation where our sons and daughters became houseboys and housegirls all the way even to Sokoto.
That's true.
In every university where you find a man with a clean white shirt and a black trouser, is likely to be from Akwa Ibom. serving as a houseboy. And I thank Governor Akpabio because he worked assiduously to change that particular narrative. We're grateful to Governor Atta, the men who laid proper foundations for the state. Now we are walking out of that. But you see, as we come forth, look at the strength that the building of Lagos gave. What did our fathers go to do in Lagos? It was because of the seaport. We were to build a seaport here, and look at the type of controversies.
Yeah.
I was involved at the beginning talking about Ibaka.
Yes.
It was Ibaka deep seaport. And Ibaka had a 13-meter natural draft without siltation. And we thought it was an ideal site. Because, if Oran was an independent nation,
yes,
they would have still built a seaport.
Absolutely.
So, but the technicians, the technology people, the people who are wise said we should move it so some distance. I don't have a problem with that. But what is important is that for you to move out of this quagmire,
yes,
we must have access to international trade. However you want to do it. Governor Atta worked on this.
There's information that should, not just information, I'm sure you are aware of it, that should also give you concern if the natural debt position is moved to where you are likely going to have a dock output.
Yeah.
Chief Edith Bobre
Yeah.
and some oral elites have been very vocal on the fact that the Ibaka position was the natural point for a deep sea port that would not require dredging. So, if there is a move for whatever reason to Unyere, because we even heard that at the point it was to go to Ibom, and he said it's unthinkable. And one thing led to another, it was moved to Unyere. So, if there is a natural debt, why should we or anybody accept the movement of the deep sea port to where you are going to dig out, like we had, 150 size of football fields, whereas you have a natural point? There are some things we must be very firm in putting to the table to help leaders, because those around them will never, including those who were part of the original thinking under Abomata. A number of them are still in government.
Yeah, you see, it's deeper than that because it has a lot of historical significance. You remember that Ibaka Deep Seaport was to be built along the port at Gohe in Senegal in 1953. It wasn't just a sudden idea. Gohe in Senegal was built. Ibaka was not built. And the place served almost like a flyover. All the projects were flying over, I don't know. Some people think the problems are spiritual. Others think maybe it is because Oron is a smaller community.
Really?
Yeah, well, it could be anything.
What are you thinking?
Yes.
They have a blessing, they have something to offer, and you look down on them.
A lot of people, but some people might feel, this is a small community. Why should they have a facility like this? Because the thinking usually is that we don't want to make you rich.
Yes.
Because if we do,
yeah, you're going to be...
No, you want the number one seat. Yeah. It's so stupid.
It is unbelievable. That's where the spiritual angle comes in, because it is silly to, have such thinking when somebody has something to offer.
But do you know it is there?
No, Pastor, not just it is there. Some of us, and I've seen others, who are victims because it has become like a culture or tradition that if you are intelligent or brilliant, or by whatever means you are smart, you are seen as a threat. And they have a saying here, has been imbibed by even leaders. So blackmail becomes a wonderful gift and grace to people who are excelling in the system. People that have nothing to offer are there. So we are going to face this headlong.